August 4th, 1944, 11:47 a.m. Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force, Versailles, France. The telegram arrives on cream-colored paper. Standard military dispatch. Nothing to suggest the words printed on it would change everything. General David Sterling stands at a mahogany table covered in maps. 55 years old. Silver hair combed back with precision. 3 stars catching the afternoon light. 2 months of grinding combat in Normandy. Progress measured in yards, not miles. An aide enters, young lieutenant fresh from West Point. He salutes with academy crispness. Sterling takes the telegram without looking up. His eyes are fixed on the map, on the slow advance through Norman hedgerows, each village marked in blood. He reads once, then again. His hand stops moving. The room's ambient noise, radio chatter, typewriters, hushed conversations, all of it fades. The other officers sense something has shifted. They turn to watch their commander. Sterling's lips move, barely audible, but everyone in the room will remember what he says next for the rest of their lives. Good God. He looks up. His face has gone pale, not with fear, with astonishment. He's already there. General Thaddeus Westbrook steps closer. 50 years old, West Point perfectionist, uniform pressed sharp enough to cut. Sir, Sterling walks to the map. His finger traces a route from Normandy south through St. Lo, then deeper south toward Brittany, impossible distance. Third Army has secured Rennes. Westbrook blinks, processes. Sir, that's over 100 miles from their starting position 4 days ago. 103 miles to be precise. Then the intelligence must be faulty. Westbrook reaches for the telegram. Sterling hands it to him. I've confirmed them, 3 times, different sources. We predicted 2 weeks to reach Rennes. That was the most optimistic timeline. I know what we predicted, Thaddeus. The intelligence officer speaks up. Major Collins, Harvard-educated, Rhodes Scholar. Sir, Third Army is exactly where they report, and they're still moving. They haven't stopped to consolidate. Sterling sets the telegram on the map, right on top of Rennes. How did he move an entire army that fast? No one has an answer, but everyone knows who he is. Marcus Kane, the disgraced general, the man who slapped a soldier, the brilliant tactician who was supposed to be finished, and apparently the man who just did the impossible. To understand those 4 days, you have to go back further, to Sicily, to a hospital tent, to a moment that should have ended everything. Sicily, July 1943, 14 months earlier. The Mediterranean sun beats down. Heat shimmers off white canvas tents. Inside the field hospital, the air is thick. Sweat, disinfectant, blood. The smell of men pushed beyond breaking. General Marcus Kane walks through rows of cots, 52 years old, gray at the temples but vigorous. Jaw like carved granite, 2 ivory-handled pistols on his hips, 3 stars on his helmet, the very image of American military power. He's come to visit the wounded. It's what good commanders do. The men love him. Everything they want in a general. A warrior. A winner. But today, something will break. Kane moves through the wounded offering cigarettes and encouragement. Broken legs, shrapnel wounds, concussions, the usual harvest of war. Then he reaches a cot near the back. Private Tommy Jensen, 19 years old, Iowa farm boy, blonde hair, blue eyes that won't stop searching for threats that aren't there. Hands that won't stop shaking. No visible wounds, no bandages, no casts, shell shock, combat fatigue, a mind that's seen too much and broken under the weight. Kane stands over the cot. Son, what's wrong with you? Jensen can't answer. His teeth chatter. His whole body shakes. Soldier, I asked you a question. I can't go back, sir. The words come broken, gasped. Something snaps inside Marcus Kane. You're not wounded. His voice fills the tent. Every head turns. You're not bleeding. You're not going. Jensen shrinks back, eyes wide with fear. Sir, please. You're a coward. The word hangs in the air like poison haze. And then Kane's hand moves. Leather glove against bare skin. The slap echoes through the tent like a gunshot. For 3 seconds, no one moves, no one breathes. Then chaos erupts. Doctors rush forward. Nurses gasp. Officers freeze. Kane stands there, hands still raised. Looking at this boy he's just struck. Reality crashes in. What has he done? A colonel grabs his arm. Sir, you need to leave. Now. Kane looks at Jensen, at the red mark on the boy's face, at the tears streaming down his cheeks. But there are no words. He turns, walks into the Sicilian sun, into the end of everything he's built. Behind him, Jensen sobs, and the word spreads like wildfire. General Marcus Kane struck a soldier, called him a coward, in front of witnesses. His career is over. The scandal spreads with devastating speed. By morning, every soldier in Sicily knows. By afternoon, every officer in the theater knows. By evening, Washington knows. The newspapers get it. Hero general strikes shell-shocked soldier. Kane's outburst, courage or cruelty. General David Sterling receives the report at his desk in England. Planning, strategizing, building the coalition that will invade France. He reads it 3 times, closes his eyes and pinches the bridge of his nose. Marcus Kane, his friend, his West Point classmate. 35 years of brotherhood. Brilliant, aggressive, unstoppable, and now finished. Sterling picks up the phone. Spends 3 hours arguing with the Pentagon. Kane is the best field commander we have. You can't end his career over one mistake. He struck an enlisted man. We have no choice. Then discipline him, but don't lose him entirely. The decision is made. Kane is relieved of command, effective immediately. Sterling hangs up, sits in silence. 35 years since they were 18-year-old cadets. Competing, challenging each other. And now he can't protect him. But the worst part for Marcus Kane isn't the relief of command, isn't the public disgrace. The worst part comes in a letter from his daughter. Sarah Kane, 20 years old, Wellesley College, dark hair like her mother, eyes that see too much. The letter arrives 3 days after the incident. Dad, what happened to you? I can't believe it. But I also can't not believe it. Because I know what's been eating at you since Mom died. You blame yourself for not being there, for being too slow, for putting duty before family. And now you've taken that guilt and turned it into something ugly. Something that hurt a boy who was already broken. Mom would be ashamed. I know I am. I love you, Dad, but I don't know who you are anymore. Sarah, Kane reads that letter in his quarters, alone. He folds it carefully, military creases, puts it in his breast pocket, right over his heart, where it will stay for the next 2 years. He doesn't cry. Marcus Kane doesn't cry. Generals don't cry, but his hands shake as he pours the whiskey and keeps pouring until the bottle is empty and he's alone in the dark with his shame. Here's what the letter doesn't say, what Sarah doesn't fully know. Margaret Kane died in March 1942. Cancer came fast and brutal. She complained of stomach pains on Tuesday. By Friday, she could barely stand. Marcus was in Louisiana, training exercises. They called Saturday morning, your wife has been admitted, you should come home. Kane looked at the training schedule. 2 more days of critical maneuvers. I'll finish the exercise first. I'll be home by Tuesday. Strategic thinking, complete the mission, handle personal matters after. The aide hesitated. Sir, the doctor said you should come now. Is she dying? They didn't say that, sir. Then I'll be home Tuesday. By the time he arrived Tuesday evening, 5 days later, Margaret was dying. The cancer had spread everywhere. Aggressive, unstoppable. She died Saturday, 4 days after Kane arrived. 4 days he spent watching her fade. 4 days knowing that if he'd come home immediately, maybe they'd have caught it sooner. Maybe she'd have survived. The doctors told him it wouldn't have mattered. Nothing would have changed the outcome. But Marcus Kane didn't believe them. Because he knew the truth that ate at him. That turned into rage in a Sicilian hospital tent 14 months later. Hesitation kills. If he'd moved faster. If he'd come home immediately. If he hadn't put duty first. Maybe Margaret would still be alive. And that knowledge was what made him slap Tommy Jensen. Because he saw in that boy's fear what he felt about himself. Cowardice. Hesitation. The sin of being too slow when speed was everything. Summer 1944. 1 year after Sicily. Marcus Kane sits in a small Virginia house, waiting for the Pentagon to decide his fate. Court-martial or quiet dismissal. He's 52, too young to be finished, too old to start over. He reads newspapers every morning. The Normandy invasion on June 6th. The brutal hedgerow fighting. Boys dying in French mud while Marcus Kane sits in Virginia doing nothing. His daughter writes occasionally. Short letters, careful. She's forgiven him, she says. But something has changed between them. She's busy with her studies. She'll visit when she can. Empty words, polite words. Then on July 28th, the phone rings. Kane. Marcus. David Sterling's voice. Supreme Commander, I need you. 4 words that change everything. Kane sits up. I'm listening. We're stuck in Normandy. 2 months of terrible casualties. We need someone to exploit the breakthrough. Someone who understands that hesitation costs lives. We need you. The Pentagon won't allow it. I've already cleared it with Marshall. You're getting Third Army, 4 Corps, 200,000 men. Kane stands, walks to the window. The world suddenly has meaning again. Why? Why are you doing this? Silence, then Sterling's voice quieter. Because you're the best we have. And because I should have fought harder for you last year. I let them crucify you. I've regretted it every day since. What are the conditions? One mistake, Marcus. Just one. And I can't protect you again. Understood. I mean it. No scandals, no controversies. You keep your temper, you follow orders, you win battles, but you do it by the book. I understand, David. Good. Get to France. Briefing is in 2 days. Sterling is about to hang up, but Kane speaks again. David, thank you for believing in me. A pause. Don't thank me yet, Marcus. Just don't make me regret this. The line goes dead. Marcus Kane stands in his kitchen, the morning sun streaming through windows, painting everything in gold. He pulls out Sarah's letter, the one he's carried for a year, the one that says her mother would be ashamed. He reads it one more time, then folds it, puts it back in his pocket, over his heart. Not anymore, he whispers. This time I won't be too slow. This is his redemption, his last chance to prove that speed saves lives. He's not going to waste it. August 1st, 1944. SHAEF headquarters, Versailles. The war room. 30 officers crowd around maps. British, American, Canadian. The room smells of cigarette smoke and the tension of men planning to send other men to their deaths. At the head, General David Sterling, Supreme Commander. To his right, Field Marshal Edmund Harrison. British, aristocratic, methodical. To his left, General Thaddeus Westbrook, First Army Commander. Everything about him screams precision. And standing near this back, General Marcus Kane. He's changed, thinner, grayer, lines that weren't there a year ago, but his eyes are the same, sharp, calculating, hungry. Sterling taps his pointer on the map. Operation Cobra launches in 4 days. We've concentrated bombers here to blow a hole in German lines. First Army will exploit the breakthrough. What comes next? Westbrook steps to the map. First Army advances south through the gap, secure the Cotentin Peninsula, then pivot east toward Paris. Standard operational doctrine. We consolidate gains, reinforce supply lines, advance methodically. Timeline. 50 miles in 1 week. Optimistically, realistically, 30 to 40 miles. Field Marshal Harrington nods. Quite sensible. The Germans excel at defensive warfare. Rush forward and they'll cut us off. We must maintain cohesion. Protect flanks. Advance as a unified force. Agreed, says Westbrook. Every military manual emphasizes maintaining supply lines. Protecting flanks. Coordinated movement. Sterling studies the map, 50 miles in a week. At this rate, they'll reach Germany by Christmas, if they're lucky. How many more American boys will die in those months? Other options. Silence, the plan is sound, conservative, safe. Then Marcus Kane speaks for the first time. Give me 72 hours. Every head turns. Some don't even know who he is. Others know exactly the disgraced general who slapped a soldier. Kane steps to the map. His finger traces south from the breakthrough, all the way to Brittany, over 100 miles. Third Army is fresh, fully equipped. Give me 72 hours after First Army creates the gap. I'll secure the entire Brittany Peninsula. Westbrook stares. That's over 100 miles through enemy territory. 110 miles to be precise. In 3 days. Correct. That's impossible. The logistics alone, you'd outrun your fuel, your ammunition. You'd be stranded deep in enemy territory, cut off, destroyed. Kane doesn't blink. Then I'll capture German supplies, use their fuel, their ammunition. I'll live off the enemy until our supply lines catch up. That's not doctrine. Doctrine is written by men who never won wars. I'm proposing we win one. The room erupts, officers shouting, arguing. This is insanity. Harrison's voice cuts through. This isn't Sicily. This is the liberation of Europe, the most important military operation in human history. We cannot afford your recklessness. Kane turns to face him. Recklessness won Sicily, took North Africa. Aggressive actions saved more lives than cautious planning. Your recklessness also got you relieved of command. The room goes silent. Kane's jaw tightens, but he doesn't look away. Yes, it did. I made a terrible mistake. I let my emotions control my actions. I hurt a soldier who was already suffering, and I've regretted it every day since. His voice is steady. But I haven't learned to be slow because being slow kills more soldiers than being fast ever did. Explain, Sterling says quietly. Kane points to Normandy on the map. We've been here 2 months, fighting for every field, every village. The Germans dig in, we bomb them. They rebuild, we attack. They counterattack. And every day we grind, more boys die. He traces the gap at St. Lo. But now we have an opportunity. The Germans are disorganized, off balance. If we hit them now before they recover, we can break them. End this war months earlier. Save thousands of lives by trading caution for speed. Or lose an entire army trying Harrison counters. That's the risk. Kane looks at Sterling. But consider the alternative. We continue grinding through Normandy, month after month. The Germans rebuild their defenses. We face them at the Rhine in winter. Thousands more die. Kane's voice intensifies. Or we take the risk now, move fast, break through before they recover. End this war before Christmas. Westbrook shakes his head. You're proposing to abandon every principle of organized warfare. I'm proposing to trade safety for speed, to accept risk in exchange for ending this war faster. Sterling studies his friend, this man he's known 35 years, this man who might be genius or insane, or both. Marcus, this isn't a request for 100 miles in a week. You're asking for 100 miles in 3 days. Impossible, Westbrook finishes. Kane looks at Sterling, just at him. David, I've lost everything that mattered to me. My career, my reputation, my daughter's respect. His voice drops. I lost my wife because I moved too slow, because I thought there would be time later. There wasn't. Something passes between them. Years of friendship. Understanding. I won't make that mistake again, Kane says. Give me 72 hours. Give me Third Army, and I'll show you what speed can do. Sterling looks at the map, at the impossible distance, at the conservative plan that will cost months, at the aggressive plan that might cost an army. He makes a decision that will haunt him. All right, Marcus, 72 hours from the moment First Army secures the gap. Move as fast as you can, but the instant you can't sustain your position, you halt. Understood. Understood. Sterling looks around the room, at the shocked faces. We're going to try something unprecedented. And if General Kane succeeds, we might end this war before winter. He pauses. And if he fails, the responsibility is mine, not his. Mine. The meeting adjourns. Officers file out, muttering, arguing. Kane starts to leave. Sterling's voice stops him. Marcus, Kane turns. Sterling walks close, friend to friend. Don't make me regret this. I won't. The Pentagon wanted to court-martial you. I stopped them. I put my career on the line. Sterling's voice drops to a whisper. Don't waste it. I won't waste it. I promise. Sterling's hand grips Kane's shoulder. Speed is good. Aggression wins wars. But don't be reckless with your men's lives. Kane thinks of Tommy Jensen. I learned that lesson. It cost me I won't forget it. Sterling nods, but his eyes show doubt, fear. Get some rest. You attack in 4 days. Kane salutes, leaves. Sterling stands alone in the war room, looking at the arrows representing Third Army. At the 100-mile distance, Kane says he'll cover in 72 hours. God help us, he whispers. July 25th, 1944. Dawn. Operation Cobra. The sky fills with thunder. Not weather. Bombers. Wave after wave. American B-17s, B-24s. Thousands of aircraft painting the dawn sky. They drop their payloads on German lines at St. Lo. High explosives. Incendiaries. The earth screams. Trees vaporize. Buildings cease to exist. The landscape is rewritten by American firepower. In a bunker 3 miles behind the target, Lieutenant Franz Muller crouches with his squad. 24 years old. Wehrmacht infantry, fighting since Poland, 1939. But this is different. The bunker shakes like an earthquake. Dust falls. Outside, the world is ending. The roar is constant, overwhelming, impossible to think. Gott im Himmel, whispers one of his men. The bombing lasts 40 minutes. When it stops, the silence is worse. Muller climbs out. The landscape has changed. What were fields are now craters. Villages are rubble. Forests are splinters. And through the smoke, shapes appear. American tanks. Hundreds. Thousands. An endless river of armor moving south. Mueller runs to the radio. Command Americans breaking through massive armor column, static. Position and size, St. Lo size. He looks at the endless line. All of them. They're sending all of them. More static. Fall back to secondary positions. The war is lost. Mueller knows it. Every German soldier who sees this knows it. Third Army headquarters, 10 miles behind the breakthrough. Marcus Kane stands in the command tent. Maps spread before him. Radio reports every minute. First Army has broken through. The gap is open. His quartermaster, Colonel Oswald Brennan, enters. 45. Balding, nervous energy. Sir, we're authorized to advance. Kane doesn't hesitate. Order all units to attack immediately. Don't wait for supply trucks. Don't wait for coordination. Attack now. Brennan swallows. Sir, regulations require consolidation. Attack now, though. Sir, Kane turns. His eyes are steel. Colonel, do you know how my wife died? Brennan blinks, thrown off balance. Sir, cancer. I was training them when she got sick. They told me to come home. I said I'd finish the exercise first. 2 more days. Strategic thinking. Complete the mission. Handle personal matters after. Kane's voice is empty. She died before I got there. 4 days in the hospital. 4 days I could have spent with her. Silence. I learned something. Hesitation kills. Not just in war. In everything. Kane's finger stabs the map. Right now, the Germans are confused. Disorganized. If we attack now, we can be 20 miles south before they realize what's happening. But if we wait, they'll have time. Time to organize. Time to kill our soldiers. Kane steps closer. Can you get supplies to an army moving 20 miles a day? Brennan's throat works. Sir, no one has ever tried. Can you do it? I don't know, sir. Then we'll find out together. Kane's hand grips Brennan's shoulder. I'm not asking because I'm reckless. I'm asking because speed saves lives. Move fast enough and the enemy can't respond, can't organize, can't kill our boys. Sir, what if we run out of fuel? Kane smiles, not pleasant. The smile of a predator finally hunting. Then we'll capture more. Now move, Colonel. We have a war to win. 4:00 p.m., July 25th. Third Army attacks. 20,000 vehicles. 50,000 men in the first wave. Moving south through the gap like a river breaking through a dam. No one has ever seen anything like it. Major Sam Reeves commands a tank battalion. 32. Detroit. Worked in auto plants before the war. Fighting since North Africa. His radio crackles. Kane's voice. Speaking directly to battalion commanders. Gentlemen, this is General Kane. We're about to move faster than any army in history. Faster than the Germans in 1940. Faster than Napoleon. Don't stop for anything. If you encounter resistance, go around it. If you run out of fuel, use captured German fuel. Just keep moving. Speed is our weapon, our shield, our salvation. Reeves looks at his crew. You heard the man. His driver grins. Where are we going, Major? Brittany, 100 miles south. When 3 days. The grin fades. That's impossible. Then we better start now. The tank lurches forward. Behind them, thousands follow. By midnight, Third Army has advanced 20 miles in 8 hours. Unheard of, but happening. In German 7th Army headquarters, General Victor Schneider receives first reports. 56. Veteran of the Great War. Professional. Competent. American Third Army. Where did they come from? His aide points. Through St. Lo. This Third Army is exploiting it. Commanded by a General Marcus Kane. Schneider knows the name. Sicily. North Africa. A reputation for aggression. How far have they advanced? 20 miles in 8 hours, Herr General. Schneider frowns. Very fast, too fast. They'll outrun their supplies. By tomorrow morning, they'll have to stop. But tomorrow comes, and Third Army doesn't stop. They advance 30 miles. Schneider stares at the updated map. Verify these positions. I've verified 3 times, sir. Third Army is exactly where reported. Then they're out of fuel. His chief of staff speaks carefully. General Third Army appears to be capturing our fuel depots, using our supplies. Then destroy the depots. Sir, we don't know where they'll be next. By the time we identify their position and organize response, they've already moved. Schneider looks at his staff, at the fear growing in their eyes. They can't stop Kane, can't even slow him down. Who is this General Kane? The aide checks notes. Disgraced general, relieved of command in Sicily for striking a soldier. Reinstated only weeks ago. And now he's doing this. Zu schnell, whispers a junior officer. Too fast, day 3, 40 miles. Schneider's hand shakes as he marks the map. Third Army is 90 miles south, 90 miles in 3 days. This is impossible, he says. The army can move this fast. It violates every principle of warfare. His chief of staff nods. And yet, Herr General, they're doing it. Day 4, August 1st. Third Army takes Avranches. The gateway to Brittany stands open. The entire peninsula is vulnerable. Kane stands on a hilltop overlooking the town. His uniform is dirty, hasn't been changed in 4 days. He hasn't slept more than 2 hours at a stretch. His eyes are red-rimmed, but his eyes are bright, alive. Colonel Brennan approaches. Sir, we did it. Avranches is ours. Kane nods, but doesn't smile. What's our fuel status? Critical, sir. We're running almost entirely on captured German supplies. Our own trucks are 3 days behind. We're operating on improvisation and luck. How far can we go? Brennan hesitates. If we push hard, maybe Rennes. That's another 60 miles. But sir, we'd be completely outrunning logistics. One mistake and we're stranded. Kane looks south, toward Brittany, toward the mission Sterling gave him, then east, toward Paris, toward Germany, toward the real prize. Colonel, how many miles from here to the German border? Brennan blinks. Sir, we're supposed to secure Britain. How many miles? Brennan checks his map. From Avranches to the German frontier, approximately 280 miles. Kane's mind races. If they can cover 100 miles in 4 days, they can cover 312. 2 weeks to the Rhine, 2 weeks to Germany itself. But first finish the assigned mission. We continue to Rennes, Kane says. Secure Brittany as ordered. Complete the mission. Then we'll see what comes next. By nightfall, advance elements reach Rennes, 103 miles in 4 days. Radio reports flood into SHAEF headquarters. And David Sterling, reading the telegram on August 4th at 11:47 a.m., whispers those 5 words that will define Marcus Kane's legend. Good God, he's already there. August 4th, noon, SHAEF headquarters. The war room buzzing with news. David Sterling stands at the map table, the telegram in his hand. Around him, officers talk in urgent whispers. Good God, he's already there. Thaddeus Westbrook moves closer. His face has gone from skeptical to pale. Rennes. Marcus took Rennes in 4 days. We predicted 2 weeks minimum. Sterling traces the route. Avranches, Dolta, Dinan, Rennes, each town a waypoint on an impossible journey. He's not just taking them, he's still moving. His forward elements are already pushing east. But how, Yito? Westbrook's voice carries genuine confusion. The fuel requirements, the coordination, it violates every logistics manual. Sterling doesn't answer immediately. Marcus Kane doesn't believe in limitations. He sees obstacles as suggestions. He's turned Third Army into a living organism. Everything that slows it down gets discarded. Everything that accelerates it gets emphasized. But at what cost? His flanks are exposed. If the Germans counterattack, they won't. They can't. That's what Marcus understands. By the time the Germans identify where he is and organize response, he's already somewhere else. Speed isn't just a tactic. It's a shield. Field Marshal Edmund Harrison enters, British, aristocratic, visibly furious. Someone explain how an American general is 100 miles ahead of schedule without proper coordination. Sterling hands him the telegram without a word. Harrison reads. His face flushes red. This is unacceptable. Kane was supposed to secure Brittany methodically, not race through like a barbarian. His flanks are completely open. If the Germans mount even a modest counterattack, Third Army could be cut off. Field Marshal. This undermines Allied strategy. Montgomery's forces are grinding through coordinated, professional, by the book, and Kane is gallivanting across France like a cowboy. There's no cohesion, just chaos. Effective chaos, Sterling says quietly. I beg your pardon. Marshal, we've been grinding in Normandy for 2 months, 8 weeks, thousands of casualties, progress measured in yards. Sterling points at Third Army's advance. Marcus has liberated more territory in 4 days than the entire Allied force has taken in 8 weeks, and his casualties are remarkably low. Do you know why? Harrison doesn't respond. Because he's moving too fast for the Germans to kill his soldiers. They can't set up ambushes, can't organize defensive positions, can't coordinate artillery. By the time they're ready to fight, he's gone. That's not strategy. That's recklessness. Maybe, but it's winning. Harrison opens his mouth, closes it. The telegram is proof. Arguing with success is difficult. What are your orders? Westbrook asks. Sterling studies the map. Kane is in Rennes. Mission accomplished. By every reasonable standard, Third Army should stop. Consolidate. Wait for supply lines to catch up. But something in Sterling knows his friend won't stop there. Send this message to Third Army headquarters. Sterling's voice is measured. Congratulations on achieving objectives ahead of schedule. Remarkable achievement. However, fuel situation critical. Recommend consolidating positions until supply lines catch up. The radio operator sends it. 20 minutes of silence. Then the response comes back. Sterling reads it aloud, his voice carrying mixture of pride and exasperation. Acknowledge fuel shortage. However, German positions at Loire River currently undefended. Intend to secure river crossings before enemy reinforces. Respectfully request permission to continue operations. Will address fuel situation through captured enemy supplies. Westbrook stares. He's out of fuel and he wants to keep attacking. Sterling almost laughs. That's Marcus. Give him an inch and he'll take a mile, literally. Sir, we should order him to halt. Should we? Sterling looks at his subordinate. Thaddeus, what if he's right? What if we have a window? 48 hours where the Germans are so confused we can advance 200 miles before they recover. But only if we move now. Sir, every military doctrine. I know what doctrine says. Sterling's voice rises, then calms. Doctrine said we couldn't break out quickly. Marcus did it. Doctrine said we couldn't advance 100 miles in 4 days. Marcus did it. Maybe it's time we stopped listening to doctrine and started listening to results. Harrison shakes his head. I must protest in the strongest terms. I will be reporting this to the Prime Minister. Report whatever you wish. Sterling picks up a phone. But right now I'm going to talk to my general, the one who's winning. Third Army Field Headquarters, 50 miles east of Rennes. Marcus Kane stands over a map table. His third uniform in 4 days. He hasn't slept more than an hour at a time in 5 days. His eyes are bloodshot. His hands tremble from exhaustion. But his mind is clear, sharp. This is what he was made for. Colonel Brennan enters. The quartermaster looks worse than Kane. Sir, we're out. Kane doesn't look up. Out. Fuel, completely out. The last German depot was captured this morning. We've used every drop. Our own supply trucks are still 3 days behind. We have literally nothing left. Kane's finger traces routes on the map. Rivers, roads, towns. What about captured vehicles? Already drained, sir. Every vehicle they left behind. Local French depots. Germans destroyed them. Standard scorched earth. Kane finally looks up. How long can we move? Brennan swallows. Sir, we can't move at all. Tanks are stopping on roads right now. Engines dying mid-convoy. We're done. For the first time in 5 days, Marcus Kane goes completely still. Done. Major Reeves enters, his tank commander. Face streaked with oil and exhaustion. General Kane, sir. 4th Battalion is immobilized. Tanks stopping on roads. Kane looks at both men. These officers who followed him 100 miles in 4 days. How far to the Seine River? Reeves checks his map. 180 miles from our current position, sir. And to the German border. 240 miles. Kane's hand rests on the map, on the blue line representing the Seine, the last major river before Germany. Cross that and the road to the Rhine is open. But you can't cross rivers without fuel. The radio crackles. General Kane, General Sterling on the secure line. Kane picks up the receiver. This is Kane. Sterling's voice comes through. Tired, concerned, but also proud. Marcus, I'm looking at your operational reports. You've achieved the impossible, but you're also out of fuel. Yes, a pause. I'm authorizing a halt. Consolidate your positions. Wait for supply lines. You've done enough, more than enough. Kane closes his eyes, sees the map in his mind. The Seine. Germany, the end of the war. David, the Germans are broken. Right now, this exact moment, if we keep moving, we can be across the Seine in a week, at the German border in 2 weeks. With what fuel, Marcus? We'll capture more. You don't have more to capture. The Germans are destroying their depots. Then send me fuel, every truck, every gallon, priority delivery. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. Kane's control slips. David, you have fuel reserves. You have trucks. Give them to me, and I'll be in Germany before September. Sterling's voice comes back colder, the voice of Supreme Commander. I have other operations to consider, other commanders making demands. I can't give everything to Third Army. Why not? We're the ones winning it, Marcus. Every day we wait, the Germans recover. Every day we sit here, they're building defenses. planning how to kill more Americans. I can end this war in 1944, before winter, but only if we move now. At what cost if you overextend? If you get cut off, you could lose your entire army, 200,000 men. Risk is part of war, and judgment is part of command. Sterling's voice is final. Third Army halts. That's an order. Kane wants to argue, wants to shout, wants to reach through the phone and shake his friend. But he can't, because Sterling is right. He's out of fuel. His men are exhausted. The supply lines are stretched beyond any reasonable limit. Understood, Kane says, his voice hollow. Marcus, I'm proud of what you've accomplished. Truly. This will be studied in military academies for generations. But rest now, consolidate. We'll continue when logistics allow. The line goes dead. Kane sets down the receiver, stands there, staring at the map. At the Seine River that's so close he can almost touch it. At the German border within reach. At the end of the war that's possible, but impossible without fuel. Brennan speaks carefully. Sir, Kane doesn't respond. Sir, the men are asking what comes next. Kane looks at him. Tell them we wait. August 6, 1944. Third Army sits stationary. A machine without fuel is just metal. 50,000 men, 20,000 vehicles, spread across 100 miles of French countryside. The greatest concentration of American military power in Europe. Waiting. Private Cornelius Neil Hartley sits beside his squad's truck. 21 infantry, Illinois farm country. He's been marching for 4 days straight. His feet are destroyed. But he didn't complain, didn't fall behind. His brother Daniel died on Omaha Beach. June 6th, first wave. Neil carries his photo in his helmet. We're doing this for you, Danny, he whispers to the photo. Sergeant Billy Wilson sits beside him. 38, regular Army since 1929. We're stopping. Why, Sarge? There's no Germans fighting us. We were just winning. Wilson exhales smoke. Politics, kid, supply chains, logistics. Things that make sense to generals and don't make sense to grunts. But we were winning, actually winning the whole war. Yeah, we were. Neil looks at his brother's photo. Daniel's smile. 23 years old. Never got to see France beyond the beach that killed him. How many more will die, Sarge? Because we stopped. Wilson doesn't answer, just smokes. And thinks about things soldiers aren't supposed to think about. German 7th Army headquarters. August 6th, General Victor Schneider finally has time to breathe. For 4 days, his command structure has been chaos. Reports flooding in faster than they could be processed. Americans everywhere, and always the same name. Third Army, Kane. Now suddenly silence, no new advances. His intelligence officer enters. General, American Third Army has halted all forward movement. Schneider looks up. Halted. Yes, Herr General, all major units have stopped. Wow, for the first time in days, Schneider allows himself a full breath. Why, bah. The intelligence officer spreads reconnaissance photos. Our analysts believe fuel shortage. They advanced so rapidly they outran their supply lines. Schneider studies the photos. American tanks stopped on roads. Soldiers resting, no movement. How long until they resume? Unknown, sir. Days, perhaps a week. It depends on their logistics. Schneider nods slowly, like a man who's been punched and is only now realizing he's still standing. Then we have time. Not much, but some. He turns to his staff. Immediate orders. Pull back all forward units. Establish new defensive lines at the Seine River. Strip every unit we can spare from Brittany. If the Americans are giving us time, we must use it. Staff officers hurry to work. The German army, battered and scattered, begins to coalesce, to reform, to remember what it means to be professional. Schneider sits heavily. 56 years old. Soldier since 1914. 30 years of military service. He knows what just happened. The Americans had them. Broken, scattered, on the verge of complete collapse. And then they stopped. Zu schnell, he mutters. Kane moved too fast. Brilliant, unprecedented, but ultimately unsustainable. His aide asks carefully, Sir, if they hadn't stopped. Schneider looks at the map, at the wide open space between Rennes and the Seine, at the weak scattered German positions. If they hadn't stopped, if this General Kane had been given fuel to continue, Schneider's voice is quiet. We would have lost France in August. Paris would have fallen weeks early. The war would be over by Christmas, perhaps earlier. He stands, walks to the window. This General Kane understands something we Germans thought we owned exclusively. Blitzkrieg, lightning war. But he does it better than we ever did. Faster, more aggressive, more willing to accept risk. How do we stop him? Schneider turns from the window. We don't. We can only hope his own logisticians stop him, because if they don't, he trails off, but everyone understands. If Kane gets fuel, the wide war is over. August 8th, 1944. Third Army Headquarters. Marcus Kane hasn't slept in days. Not really. An hour here, 30 minutes there. Colonel Brennan brought a cot into the command tent. Kane used it once, for 40 minutes. Sir, Brennan's voice is very careful. The supply trucks are finally catching up. We should have operational fuel levels by tomorrow evening. How much? Enough to resume limited operations. Not unlimited, but operational. Kane studies the map. He's been staring at it for 2 days. Everyone thinks he's planning the next phase, the advance into Brittany proper, securing the ports. But Kane isn't looking at Brittany. He's looking east. Colonel, his voice breaks the silence like a gunshot. What if we don't go west into Brittany? Brennan blinks. Sir, Brittany, the ports, Brest, Lorient. What if we don't secure them? Sir, that's our assigned mission. Schaeff orders explicitly. What if we go east instead? Kane's finger moves across the map, away from Brittany, toward Paris, past Paris, toward the Seine, toward Germany. Brennan stares. Sir, that would be, we'd be completely off mission, unauthorized. General Sterling would, how long to reach the Seine if we had adequate fuel? Sir, you can't be. How long, Oswald or Brennan looks at the map, 10 to 12 days, if nothing stops us, if we move like last week, if the Germans don't organize effective resistance. And from the Seine to the German border, another week, maybe less if we maintain that pace. Brennan's voice drops. Sir, you can't possibly be serious. Kane looks at him. The Germans are rebuilding defenses at the Seine. Right now, today. Every day we sit here, they get stronger. But if we move now, immediately we hit them before they're ready. We'd be abandoning our assigned mission. Our mission is to win the war, not to capture ports. General Sterling gave explicit orders. Sterling will forgive me if I end this war in 1944. Brennan goes quiet, looking at this man who's barely eaten in a week, who hasn't slept more than a few hours in days, whose eyes burn with something between genius and madness. Sir, Brennan's voice is very careful. If you disobey direct orders, they'll relieve you. Court-martial you, everything you've rebuilt since Sicily, everything you've accomplished, all destroyed. It'll be worth it if we end the war by Christmas. And if we fail, if we get cut off, if the Germans counterattack while we're stranded. Kane picks up a photo from his desk, his wife Margaret, taken in 1940, smiling, healthy, alive, before the cancer. I moved too slow once, he says quietly, to save the person I loved most, and I lost her. I won't make that mistake again. He sets down the photo. We go east tomorrow, as soon as we have fuel. That's an order, Colonel. Sir, that's an order. Brennan opens his mouth, closes it, salutes. Yes, sir. After Brennan leaves, Kane sits alone. He pulls out Sarah's letter, the one from 1943, the one he's carried for over a year. Mom would be ashamed. He unfolds it, reads it again. Would she still be ashamed, or would she understand? Would she know that this obsession with speed isn't recklessness, that it's love? Desperate, fierce, terrible love for all the soldiers who might die if he hesitates. Kane folds the letter, returns it to his pocket, over his heart, and makes his peace with whatever comes next. August 10th, 1944. Dawn. Third Army begins moving again, not west into Brittany as ordered, east toward the Seine, toward Paris, toward Germany. The orders go out. Division commanders receive them. Some question. All follow because this is Kane. And Kane wins. In Schaeff headquarters, when first reports arrive, there is pandemonium. He's where? Westbrook is shouting. Kane was supposed to secure Brest. Why is Third Army moving toward Paris? Sterling reads the reports in silence, his face unreadable. Field Marshal Harrison storms in. Your American cowboy has lost his mind. He's abandoned his mission. This is insubordination. Court-martial him immediately. Sterling sets down the reports very carefully. No. What? Marcus is doing what I should have authorized 3 days ago. He's pursuing a broken enemy, not giving them time to recover. He's violating direct orders. He's winning. Sterling's voice is steel wrapped in silk. Field Marshal, in the past 10 days, Third Army has advanced farther than any Allied unit in this entire war. Their casualty rates are lower than any comparable operation. The Germans are terrified of them. So no, I will not recall General Kane. I will support his operations. I will protest this to Churchill. Protest all you want. Sterling leans forward. But while you're protesting, Marcus Kane is going to keep moving. Keep winning. And if he reaches the Seine before Montgomery reaches Caen, he'll be the first Allied commander to do so. An American. Harrison's face goes purple. But he's trapped. Kane is winning. What are your orders? Westbrook asks. Sterling looks at the map. At Third Army's new positions. Already 60 miles east of where they should be. Get every fuel truck we have moving toward Third Army. Every gallon. Marcus wants to race to the Seine fine. Let's see if he can do it. Sir, if you divert all our fuel to Kane, other operations will suffer. Montgomery will protest. Let them protest. Sterling's jaw sets. Right now, Marcus Kane is the tip of the spear, the one commander who's actually ending this war instead of managing it. And I'll be damned if I let that spear break. August 15th, 1944. Third Army is 60 miles from the Seine, racing east like a force unleashed. The advance is brutal, relentless, faster than anything anyone had seen. Major Reeves' tank battalion hasn't stopped in 5 days. They sleep in shifts, 2 hours, then wake and drive, an endless cycle. Major, his gunner's voice is slurred with fatigue. How much farther? Reeves checks the map, 40 miles to the Seine. And then what? We cross it. Halcyon intelligence says the Germans demolished every bridge. We'll find a way. Reeves's voice carries absolute conviction. We always find a way. Behind the tanks, Private Neil Hartley marches with his infantry company, 80 miles in 5 days, on foot. Some men have collapsed, but most keep going. Because they believe. They believe in Kane. Keep moving, Hartley tells his buddy Jake from Tennessee. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Jake staggers, his feet bleeding through his boots. Can't kneel. Feet are gone. Then lean on me. We'll walk together. They do. 2 soldiers, brothers in everything but blood, walking toward the Seine, toward Germany, toward the end of the war. Behind them, thousands more. An army that shouldn't be able to move this fast, but does anyway, because Kane wills it. German position Seine River. August 18th. General Schneider receives reports with growing dread. The brief respite is over. Third Army is moving again, and this time they're not going west. They're coming straight for him. Third Army is 40 miles from the Seine. Yes, Herr General, they'll reach the river by tomorrow at latest. How I thought they were securing Brittany. General Kane appears to have changed his mission, sir. Changed his mission? Schneider's voice rises. You can't just change your mission. There are chains of command orders. He stops, realizes how foolish he sounds. This is Kane. Kane doesn't follow rules. Can we hold the Seine? His chief of staff doesn't answer immediately. That's answer enough. Sir, our defensive positions are hastily constructed, undermanned. We need at least another week. We don't have a week. No, sir. Schneider sits heavily. Send a message to Berlin. American Third Army will cross the Seine by August 20th. Nothing we have can stop them. The message goes out, eventually reaching Hitler's headquarters. Hitler, reading it, screams, orders Schneider relieved for defeatism. But it doesn't matter, because Marcus Kane is already at the river. August 19th, 19 or dawn, the Seine River. 400 feet wide, deep, fast-moving, ancient, a barrier since Roman times. Third Army reaches the eastern bank and finds every bridge destroyed, steel and concrete collapsed into water. Nothing crossable. Kane stands on the bank, studying the river, the depth, the far bank where German positions wait. Colonel Brennan approaches. Sir, our engineers estimate 3 days to construct pontoon bridges. Too long, the Germans will reinforce. Make the crossing a slaughter. Sir, we cannot cross without bridges. Kane points downriver. What's the water depth there where it widens? Unknown, sir, but likely 8 feet minimum. Can our Shermans ford 8 feet? Not safely, sir. Engines would flood. We'd lose tanks. Kane looks at Major Reeves. How many tanks can we afford to lose experimenting? Reeves steps forward, understands immediately. Sir, if you're asking us to ford the Seine in Teng, I'm not asking, I'm ordering. Find the shallowest point. Send 1 tank as a test. If it makes it, we all go. And if we lose the tank, then we lose it. But we don't lose 3 days while Germans reinforce. Within an hour, engineer teams are in the Seine, taking measurements, testing currents, looking for the impossible, a spot shallow enough for 40-ton tanks. They find one, maybe. Where the river widens, where ancient geology creates a raised section, 6 feet deep, maybe 7, survivable, barely. Kane orders a test, one tank, commanded by volunteer Lieutenant James Fisher, 24, Wisconsin farm boy. Fisher guides his tank into the Seine. Water rises, over the treads, over the lower hull. The engine sputters, coughs, but keeps running. On both banks, hundreds watch, holding their aware breath. Tanks don't cross rivers. Not like this. Water continues rising, up to the turret ring. One more foot and the engine floods. But Fisher keeps moving, foot by foot. The tank is more submarine than vehicle. Water pouring over every surface. But the treads keep gripping. And then suddenly the water level drops. The tank is rising, climbing the far bank, emerging from the Seine like a steel monster being born. It reaches dry land, water cascading off, engine still running, crew still alive. On the near bank, soldiers erupt in cheers. Kane turns to his commanders. Send the rest, all of them, now. By nightfall, 3 tank battalions have forded the Seine. Impossible crossings that will be studied for decades. By midnight, infantry is crossing on rafts, on captured German boats, on anything that floats. By dawn on August 20th, 20,000 American soldiers are across the Seine, 4 weeks ahead of every prediction, 4 weeks ahead of the British. In Chafe headquarters, when Sterling receives confirmation, he doesn't celebrate. Just walks to the map and marks Third Army's position with a steady hand. Westbrook stands beside him, silent. What can you say? He crossed the Seine, Sterling says quietly. How? I stopped asking how with Marcus 2 weeks ago. Sterling studies the map. He sees obstacles as opportunities. August 25th, 1944. Third Army is 60 miles beyond the Seine, driving hard for the German border. And then once again they run out of fuel, this time completely. The great machine grinds to a halt. Kane stands on a hilltop, binoculars to his eyes, looking at German border positions in the distance. So close. Maybe 3 days of hard driving, the end of the war visible through glass and impossible to reach. His radio operator approaches. Sir, General Sterling on the secure line. Kane takes the call. This is Kane. Sterling's voice is tired, strained. Marcus, you're 60 miles from the German frontier. Yes. You're also out of fuel again. Completely. Yes. A pause, then Sterling's tone shifts. Formal, official. Marcus, I need you to listen very carefully. I'm diverting all available fuel supplies to Field Marshal Harrison's operation. Market Garden, an airborne assault to capture Dutch bridges and open a corridor into Germany. Kane feels something cold settle in his chest. David, it's already decided. Churchill insisted. Montgomery insisted. The British Commonwealth is our essential partner. I have to support their major operations. David, I'm 3 days from Germany. Give me the fuel meant for Montgomery and I can be across the Rhine before September. Marcus. David, listen. Third Army is at the German border. The enemy is broken. We have momentum. Victory in our grasp. Just give me fuel. Marcus, I can't. The political realities. Politics, we're talking about ending this war, about saving lives. How many American soldiers will die because you chose Montgomery's failed plan over my winning strategy? That's enough, General. Sterling's voice cracks like a whip. Market Garden has been planned for months. Resources committed. Allied coordination arranged. I cannot change that for your unauthorized offensive. Unauthorized, I'm winning. You're also disobeying orders. You were supposed to secure Brittany. Sterling's voice is ice. I gave you leash, Marcus, more than any commander in this war, and you used it to go completely off mission. I used it to win, and now you're out of fuel, stranded, unable to continue, which proves my point. Sterling's voice softens slightly. Marcus, you've done brilliant work. Unprecedented. Historic. But you can't sustain this pace. You need to consolidate. Let logistics catch up. And let the Germans recover. That's the price of reality. Kane's hand tightens on the radio. How many soldiers will die, David? How many boys between now and May 1945 because we stopped today? Long silence. Then Sterling very quietly. I'll carry that weight, Marcus. Not you. Third Army halts. Effective immediately. That's an order. The line goes dead. Kane stands there, radio in hand, looking at the German border through binoculars. 3 days away. Impossible to reach. He thinks about Margaret, about hesitation costing her life. And then he thinks about Sarah, about the letter, about shame. Is this what shame feels like, to be right and be stopped anyway? September 2nd, 1944. 1 week of waiting. 1 week while the Germans recover. Fortify, prepare. Private Hartley writes a letter home. Dear Mom, we almost did it. We almost reached Germany. We were so close I could see their border positions through binoculars. General Kane said 3 more days and we'd cross into the Reich itself. But we ran out of fuel and they won't send us more. Something about politics and British operations getting priority. Danny died on Omaha Beach. 400 other boys from our division died getting us this far. And now we sit and wait while the Germans prepare to kill more of us. I don't understand war. I don't understand politics. I just want this to end. Your loving son, Neil. He seals the letter. Then he sees something on the horizon. Smoke, but not artillery smoke. Something different. Something wrong. Sarge, Hartley calls to Wilson. What's that smoke? Wilson looks, frowns. Don't know, let's check it out. They take a jeep, drive 3 miles north, through quiet French countryside, and then they smell it. Death, not battle death, something older, more fundamentally wrong. They round a corner and find the camp. Barbed wire, guard towers, wooden barracks, all empty. The Germans fled when they heard American tanks approaching. Hartley and Wilson enter slowly. Weapons ready. The smell is overwhelming, sweet and rotten and wrong. They find the first bodies in a pit. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Emaciated corpses stacked like cordwood. They find survivors in the barracks. Living skeletons. Eyes too large for their faces. Striped uniforms hanging on frames that used to be human. Amerikaner, one whispers. American Wilson can't speak. Can only nod. Hartley runs to the jeep. Fumbles for the radio. We need medics. Now, we need everyone. We found something. He can't finish. Can't find words. Within 2 hours, General Kane arrives. He walks through the camp in complete silence. Seeing everything, saying nothing. His face carved from stone. The survivors. Maybe 200. Barely alive. The bodies, everywhere. In pits. In barracks. In what used to be a morgue. The ovens, still warm. Still containing ash that used to be human beings. The evidence, mountains of it. Hair, shoes, glasses. The systematic cataloging of genocide. Captain Ellen Price is already there. 38, medical officer, veteran of North Africa and Sicily. But this breaks her. General, her voice cracks, tears stream. Some of these people, children, sir. There are children. Kane stands before a pit of bodies. His face stone, but something behind his eyes is dying. Get film crews, he orders, his voice steady, mechanical. Photograph everything, every body, every building, every piece of evidence. This must be documented. Sir, film it all and bring townspeople from the nearest village, German civilians. They will see this. They will witness what was done in their name. By afternoon, 100 German civilians are marched through the camp. Old men, women, some weeping, some denying. We're wussed and nichts, they cry. We knew nothing. Kane orders them to bury the bodies. With their own hands, in graves they dig themselves. One old woman refuses. Ich bin nicht verantwortlich. I am not responsible. Kane's voice is ice. You are German. You allowed this. You elected the government that did this. You are responsible. Now dig. She digs. As the sun sets, Kane stands alone near the ovens. Brennan finds him. Doesn't speak. Just stands beside him. Oswald, Kane's voice is barely audible. How many more, sir, camps like this? How many more are there in Germany? Brennan doesn't know. If I'd had fuel, Kane's voice breaks slightly. If David had given me fuel 2 weeks ago, we could have been here a month earlier, could have liberated this camp, saved these people. Sir, you couldn't have known. That's not the point. Kane turns. His eyes are red. The point is speed, Oswald. The point is that every day we delay, people die. Not just soldiers, everyone. Innocent people, children, all dying because we're too slow. He looks back at the camp, at the survivors being loaded into ambulances, at the bodies being buried. I moved too slow to save my wife, too slow to save these people. His gesture encompasses the horror. How many more am I too slow to save? How many more camps are in Germany right now? How many people are dying today because Third Army sits here without fuel? Brennan has no answer, because there is no answer. Kane walks away, alone, carrying the weight of bodies uncounted, lives unsaved. That night, Kane writes in his diary, the personal journal he's kept since Sicily. September 2nd, 1944. We found a concentration camp today. I have no words adequate to describe what we saw. No language exists for evil of this magnitude. But I know this with certainty. Every day we waited for fuel, people died in that camp. Every day we sit here now, people die in camps we haven't reached yet. David made a choice. Fuel for Montgomery's Market Garden instead of fuel for Third Army. I pray he's right. I pray Market Garden succeeds. I pray Montgomery's operation was worth stopping our advance. Because if Market Garden fails and we're still sitting here, then we'll know the true cost, not in miles, not in military objectives, in lives. Innocent lives. Lives we could have saved. If only we'd moved faster. He closes the diary, locks it, looks at the map one more time. Germany is 60 miles away. The camps are waiting. The innocent are dying. And Third Army sits, stationary, powerless. September 17th, 1944. Operation Market Garden launches at dawn. 35,000 British and American paratroopers, the largest airborne operation in history. Drop behind German lines, capture bridges, open a corridor into Germany, end the war by Christmas. At SHAEF headquarters, David Sterling watches reports flood in. Every hour brings new information. He stands at the map table, hasn't sat in 6 hours. Westbrook stands beside him. Both men silent, waiting, hoping. First reports are good, paratroopers landing successfully. Some bridges captured, initial objectives achieved. Sterling allows himself a small breath. Maybe this will work. Maybe Harrison's plan will vindicate the fuel decision. Maybe stopping Kane was the right choice. Then the reports change. German resistance heavier than expected. Bridges not taken. Paratroopers surrounded. Supplies not reaching forward units. By day 3, Sterling knows. The sick feeling in his stomach. Market Garden is failing. Westbrook speaks carefully. Sir, should we consider diverting Third Army North? General Kane could potentially support the operation. Sterling looks at the map, at Third Army's positions, still sitting where they stopped 6 weeks ago. No, he says quietly. Sir, it's too late. Even if Marcus moved immediately at maximum speed, he couldn't reach them in time. The paratroopers are cut off, and we don't have the resources to save them. By September 25th, Market Garden is officially declared a failure. 9,000 Allied casualties. Thousands captured. The bridge is not taken. The war will not end by Christmas. Westbrook doesn't say it. Doesn't have to. If the fuel had gone to Kane instead of Harrison. If Third Army had crossed into Germany in September instead of sitting stationary. If. Sterling stands at the map. His hand rests where Third Army sits. Motionless. 60 miles from Germany. Stopped by his decision. Get me fuel trucks, he says finally, his voice hollow. Everything available. Marcus can start moving again. What are the orders, sir? Tell General Kane to resume operations. Advance to the German frontier. Cross when tactically feasible. Westbrook sends the orders. Returns to the map. Sir, what should I tell the British about Market Garden? Sterling doesn't answer for a long moment. Tell them we tried. We failed. War continues. But both men know another truth, the one they won't speak aloud. The moment was in August. The opportunity was then, and they let it pass. October-December 1944. Third Army finally receives adequate fuel, resumes advancing, but everything has changed. The Germans are ready now, 6 weeks to rebuild defenses, to fortify positions, to organize resistance. The advance that took days in August takes weeks in October, where once they covered 40 miles a day, now they're lucky to make 10. Every village contested, every crossroad a killing ground. Private Hartley's buddy, Jake the Tennessee kid he helped across France, is killed by artillery on October 12th. Direct hit. Hartley was 10 feet away. Survived by accident. He buries Jake in a temporary cemetery. Adds his photo to the helmet beside Daniel's. 2 deaths, 2 friends, 2 more names in a war that should have ended in August. The army that raced across France in August crawls across the German border in October. Winter comes. December. The Battle of the Bulge. German counteroffensive. Surprise attack through the Ardennes. Thousands of American casualties. Third Army pivots north. Kane's brilliant maneuvering saves the trapped forces at Bastogne. His aggressive tactics. His refusal to accept defeat. But it's not enough to end the war. The war grinds on through winter, through spring, through month after month of dying. May 8, 1945. Germany surrenders unconditionally. The war in Europe is over. 8 months after Marcus Kane sat 60 miles from the German border. 8 months after he was denied fuel. 8 months that cost hundreds of thousands of lives. At Third Army headquarters, staff officers compile final statistics. Colonel Brennan presents them to Kane in a leather folder. Sir, Third Army's operational report, August 1944 through May 1944. Kane takes the document, reads silently. Distance covered in first 30 days, August 600 miles. Enemy prisoners taken 106,000 towns and cities liberated, 437 German divisions disrupted, 34 Allied casualties during August advance, 400 Allied casualties, September 1944, May 1945, 161,000. Kane's hand stops on that last number, 161,000. Oswald, his voice is quiet. How many of these occurred after we were halted in August? Brennan doesn't want to answer. Approximately 140,000, sir. 140,000. The number hangs in the air. Terrible, undeniable. 140,000 soldiers who might not have been casualties if Third Army had crossed into Germany in September instead of May. Kane sets down the report, says nothing. Sir, Brennan speaks carefully. You cannot blame yourself. The decision to halt wasn't yours. You followed orders. No, it was David's decision. Silence. But I could have disobeyed, could have kept moving on captured fuel, could have risked court-martial. You would have been relieved, court-martialed, imprisoned. Maybe that would have been worth it. Kane's voice is distant. 140,000 lives. Would my career be worth 140,000 lives? Brennan has no answer to that. June 1945. Allied intelligence begins systematically interrogating captured German generals. One of the first interviewed is Victor Schneider, General 7th Army, the man who tried to stop Third Army and failed. American intelligence officer Major Frank Collins conducts the interview in a prisoner compound near Frankfurt. General Schneider, I'd like to discuss August 1944, when American Third Army advanced across France. Schneider looks older than his 56 years. Third Army, he says it like a curse. General Kane's Army. What was your professional assessment of his tactics? Schneider laughs bitterly. My assessment, he was our Albtraum, our nightmare, the thing we feared most. Please elaborate. Field Marshal Montgomery we could predict. Methodical, cautious, professional. We knew where he would attack. We could prepare defenses. Schneider leans forward. But Kane unmöglich. Impossible to predict. He appeared where he should not be. Moved faster than should be possible. Attacked when we expected him to defend. Collins makes notes. Did you believe you could stop Third Army? In August, Schneider shakes his head firmly. No, absolutely not. He moved too fast, zu schnell, always too fast. By the time we identified his position and organized response, he had already moved. What if Third Army had not stopped? What if General Kane had received fuel and continued? Schneider goes very still. You are asking a hypothetical? Yes. Then I will give you a hypothetical answer. Schneider's voice drops. If General Kane had not stopped in August, if he had received adequate fuel and continued his advance at that pace, Third Army would have crossed the Rhine by mid-September, reached Berlin by October. The war would have ended by Christmas 1944, perhaps earlier. Collins stops writing. You're certain of this assessment? Completely certain. We had nothing to stop him. No reserves, no fortified positions, no coherent defensive strategy. Our armies were in complete chaos. Schneider looks directly at Collins. If Kane had kept moving, the war ends in 1940. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers, German and Allied, both would still be alive. The Holocaust victims in camps would have been liberated months earlier. Cities that were destroyed in 1945 would still be standing. The interview continues for another hour, but Collins has what he needs. The statement that will echo through history. If Kane had been given fuel, the war ends in 1940. Similar interviews occur across occupied Germany. Field Marshal Ernst Kessler. General Kane was the most dangerous Allied commander, more dangerous than Eisenhower, more than Montgomery, more than all of them combined, because he understood what we Germans thought we owned exclusively. Blitzkrieg, but he executed it better than we ever did. General Paul Hauser, SS Panzer Commander. We feared Russian brutality. We respected British professionalism. We understood American industrial power. But Kane, we could not fight what we could not predict. He was everywhere and nowhere. A ghost army that moved like lightning. The consensus is unanimous across every captured German officer. Marcus Kane was unstoppable in August 1944. Stopping him cost the war 8 extra months, 140,000 extra casualties, countless lives in concentration camps. August 1945. Marcus Kane sits in his office in occupied Germany, reading these interviews, these testimonials from enemy commanders. Complete vindication, a total, absolute. Every German general agrees. He was right. He could have ended the war in 1944. And being right doesn't change anything. 140,000 casualties still died. Concentration camps were still liberated 8 months late. Cities were still destroyed. All because he was stopped. Kane sets down the reports, looks at the photo on his desk. Margaret, smiling, alive, before the cancer. I tried, he whispers. I tried to move fast, to save them all, but I was stopped, and they died anyway. He opens his desk drawer, pulls out Sarah's letter, the one from Sicily, the one he's carried for 2 years. He unfolds it carefully, reads it one more time. Mom would be ashamed. Would she still be? Now that the truth is known, now that history has judged him correct, Kane doesn't know. He folds the letter, returns it to his pocket, over his heart, where it will stay until he dies, which will be sooner than anyone expects. SHAEF headquarters, June 1945. David Sterling hosts a press conference. Medals gleaming. Photographers capturing the Supreme Commander who won the war in Europe. A reporter asks, General Sterling, can you assess the contributions of various commanders to Allied victory? Sterling stands at the podium, 3 stars catching light, the face of victory. Every commander played vital roles, he says smoothly. General Westbrook's careful planning, Field Marshal Harrison's methodical approach, General Kane's aggressive tactics. Together, they achieved what no single commander could accomplish alone. Professional, political, careful. The press conference ends. Sterling returns to his office, closes the door, alone. 2 weeks later, late evening, Sterling and Westbrook. Private meeting, bourbon, cigars. 2 generals who survived, who won, who now have to live with how they won. Thaddeus? Sterling's voice is tired, raw. Do you think about it? About what, sir, August? The fuel decision, Kane at the German border, Market Garden. Wume Westbrook swirls his bourbon. Every single day, sir. And I think, Westbrook chooses words carefully, I think Marcus was right and we were wrong. But admitting that publicly would undermine Allied unity, question every strategic decision, create divisions we can't afford even after victory, so we can't say it publicly. Sterling nods slowly. Marcus Kane liberated more territory in 30 days than anyone else managed in 6 months. His casualties were remarkably low because he moved too fast for the Germans to organize effective resistance, and we stopped him. For political reasons, for alliance management, for partnership, for coalition unity. Sterling's voice hardens. All the right diplomatic reasons, all the wrong military ones. What do we do with that knowledge? We live with it. Sterling drains his glass. We live with knowing the best field commander America produced was stopped by his own high command. And we never speak of it publicly. Never admit the mistake. Never acknowledge what could have been. But privately, sir, Sterling looks at his friend. Privately, Marcus Kane was the finest combat commander I've ever known. Better than me, better than anyone. It's as close to confession as Sterling will ever make. 3 weeks later, Sterling alone with his personal aide, Captain Raymond Hughes, 32, served with Sterling since 1942. Loyal, discreet. They're packing files, the war is over. Soon they'll return to America. Hughes finds a folder marked 3rd Army, August 19. Sir, should I file this with operational archives? Sterling takes the folder, opens it, inside the decision memorandum. The order that diverted fuel to Market Garden, his signature at the bottom. Raymond, Sterling's voice is very quiet. Close the door. Hughes does, returns, waits. Sterling sits heavily. I want to tell you something, and I need you to never repeat it while I'm alive. After I'm dead, you can tell whoever you want, but not before. Sir, Marcus Kane and I went to West Point together, class of 1910. We were 18, we competed in everything. Sterling looks at the folder. Marcus was better at field tactics, seeing the battlefield, making instant decisions. I was better at politics, managing coalitions. We complemented each other perfectly. He pauses. But I was also jealous, Because Marcus could look at a battlefield and see things I couldn't. He made decisions in 30 seconds that took me 30 hours. And his decisions? Sterling's voice cracks. His decisions were often better than mine. Hughes says nothing, barely breathes. In August, Marcus wanted to keep moving, to cross into Germany, to end the war. Sterling closes his eyes, and I stopped him. Not because it was wrong militarily, but because he starts again. Because if Marcus ended the war in 1944, everyone would know he was the better commander. The brilliant one, the hero. Not me, him. The admission hangs in the office like smoke. I chose Market Garden because it was British, because it was politically necessary, because it made coalition sense. Sterling opens his eyes. They're red, wet, and it failed, catastrophically, and 140,000 more soldiers died between September and May because I chose politics over Marcus's genius. Sir, you couldn't have known. I knew. Sterling's voice is steel. I knew Marcus was right. Every instinct told me. Every military judgment I possessed said give him the fuel. But I chose wrong because of jealousy, because of because I wanted victory to be mine, not his. He closes the folder, hands it to Hughes. File this, and remember what I told you, but don't repeat it until I'm dead, because I don't ever want Marcus to know the truth. Hughes takes the folder. Yes, sir. After he leaves, Sterling sits alone in his office, the weight of the decision crushing him. He makes a decision. Tomorrow he'll call Marcus, congratulate him, thank him, say all the appropriate things, but he'll never tell him the truth, never admit the jealousy, never confess what the fuel decision really cost. Some truths are too heavy to speak aloud, some sins too great to confess. They can only be endured. That night, Sterling writes in his personal diary, June 23, 1945, the war is over. We won, Germany defeated, Allied victory complete. But I cannot escape the certainty that we won in spite of my decisions, not because of them. Marcus Kane wanted to cross into Germany in August 1944. I stopped him, sent fuel to Market Garden instead. Market Garden failed. Marcus was right. If I had trusted him, if I had given him what he needed. The war ends in 1944. Hundreds of thousands don't die. Concentration camps are liberated 8 months earlier. Cities are spared. But I was afraid. Afraid that if Marcus succeeded too completely, everyone would see that he was the superior commander, that I was merely the political general, the coalition manager, not the war winner. So I stopped him, for my ego, for my pride, for my jealousy, and men died because of it. I will carry this weight for the rest of my life. I will never tell Marcus the truth, because he deserves better than knowing his best friend betrayed him out of envy. Some sins cannot be confessed. They can only be endured in silence. He closes the diary, locks it, returns it to his desk, goes to bed, doesn't sleep, will never sleep quite right again, because some regrets are too heavy to rest with. December 9, 1945. 7 months after Germany's surrender, Marcus Kane is still in Germany, overseeing reconstruction, preparing to come home soon. To retirement, he's driving from Mannheim to Heidelberg. Routine trip, staff car, driver. The driver, Corporal Matthews, 23, from Oregon, takes a turn too fast. Wet pavement. Cold. The car skids. Kane sees the truck ahead, stopped. Broken down. No warning lights. Matthews swerves. Not enough. Impact. Kane is thrown forward. His head hits the partition. His neck snaps back at an impossible angle. Vertebrae crack. Spinal cord severed. Everything stops. He wakes in a field hospital. White ceiling. Smell of disinfectant. Can't move. His body won't respond. Nothing below his neck. A doctor appears. Major Catherine Reynolds, 40, Boston. Career military physician. General Kane, can you hear me? Yes, his voice is weak. You've been in an accident. Your neck is broken. Fourth cervical vertebra. You're paralyzed from the neck down. The words take time to become real. Paralyzed. Can it be fixed? Reynolds doesn't answer immediately. We'll transport you to a better facility. We'll do everything medically possible. But General, she trails off. Kane understands. How long do I have? I don't know. Days, weeks, possibly longer with proper care. Days, weeks, not years, not life. Kane closes his eyes. 52 years old. Won the war. Made history. about to in a German hospital bed. I need to call my daughter. The call is arranged. Sarah Kane's apartment in Boston. She's working now, teaching, building a life. The phone rings. She answers. Hello. Sarah, her father's voice. Weak, strange. Dad, are you okay? I've been in an accident, sweetheart. Silence. How bad? Bad. My neck is broken. He pauses, forces himself to say it. I'm paralyzed. They're doing everything they can, but what? But I might not make it home. Sarah's breath catches. Don't say that. You're Marcus Kane. You're unstoppable. You'll beat this too. Sarah, you're going to be fine. You're going to come home, and we'll have time. Sarah, his voice is gentle, final. I need to tell you something. About your mother. About why I've been the way I've been. Dad, you can tell me when you get home. No, now, while I can. Each breath is difficult. When your mother got sick, I was away. Training. They called, told me to come home immediately, and I said I'd finish the exercises first. 2 more days, complete the mission, then handle personal business. Sarah says nothing. Listening. By the time I got home, the cancer had spread. Terminal. She died 4 days later. 4 days I spent watching her fade. Knowing if I'd come home immediately, maybe we'd have had more time. Maybe, his voice breaks, maybe she'd still be alive. Dad, that's why I moved so fast in the war, why I pushed so hard, why I couldn't accept delay or hesitation. Because I learned that waiting costs lives, that tomorrow might not come, that you have to move now, not later. Kane's voice strengthened slightly. I was trying to save all the sons, all the daughters, all the families. Trying to end it fast so fewer people would lose what I lost. Sarah is crying now. I'm proud of you, Dad. I always have been. Even when I wrote that letter after Sicily, even when I was angry, I was still proud. Your mother would be proud too. I believe that now. She would be. She is. Silence. Just breathing. Connection across distance. Father and daughter. Saying goodbye without saying it. Sarah. His voice is very soft. I love you. I need you to know that. I've been a terrible father. Gone all the time. Obsessed with duty, with war, with redemption. But I love you more than anything in this world. I know, Dad. I love you too. So much. When I get home, he starts. When you get home, Sarah interrupts firmly. We'll have time, all the time we need. You're going to recover. I'm flying to Germany. I'll be there in 2 days, and you'll be okay. Kane wants to believe her. Yes, when I get home. They talk for 10 more minutes. Small things, memories, plans that won't happen. Then Kane's voice weakens. I need to rest now, sweetheart. Okay, but I'll call tomorrow, and I'm coming to Germany. I'll be there soon. I'd like that very much. I love you, Dad. I love you too, Sarah. More than you'll ever know. The line goes dead. Kane lies in the hospital bed, unable to move, unable to hold his daughter, unable to do anything but exist and wait for the end. He thinks about Margaret, about Sarah, about all the soldiers who died because armies moved too slow, about speed, and how it doesn't matter anymore. Now there's only stillness, only time running out. December 21st, 1945, 5:47 p.m., 12 days after the accident, General Marcus Kane dies. His heart simply stops. Complications from the spinal injury. From 12 days of immobility. Dr. Reynolds notes the time, closes his eyes, calls the officer on duty. Within an hour, the news spreads. To 3rd Army veterans, to Schaeff, to the Pentagon, to everyone who knew him. To David Sterling. Sterling receives the call at 11:23 p.m. His home in Washington, his aide's voice, careful, respectful. Sir, I have difficult news. General Kane passed away this evening at 17:47 hours. Sterling doesn't respond. Can't. The words don't process. Sir, did you hear me? Yes. The word barely escapes. I heard you. The funeral will be at Arlington, December 28th. You're expected to deliver the eulogy as Supreme Commander. Of course, I'll be there. Sterling hangs up, sits in his study, lone, dark, just sitting in the blackness. Marcus is dead. His best friend, his rival, his conscience, the man who showed him what real courage looks like. Gone. Sterling stands, walks to his desk, pulls out a letter he wrote 6 months ago, after reading the German general interviews. The letter begins, Dear Marcus, I need you to know something about August. He never sent it. kept it in his desk, told himself he'd give it to Marcus someday, when they were old men, when there was time. But now Marcus is dead, and the letter will never be read. Sterling sits heavily, the letter in his hands. 35 years of unspoken words. 35 years, he whispers to the empty room. 35 years, and I never told you what you meant to me. He thinks about West Point, about being 18, about two young men competing, becoming generals together, winning together, about jealousy, about pride, about the decision in August that cost so much. I'm sorry, Marcus. His voice breaks. God forgive me. I'm so sorry. He sits in the dark for 3 hours, the letter on his lap, unsent, unread, forever. December 28, 1945, Arlington National Cemetery. Overcast sky, cold, not quite snowing. December at its most unforgiving. Thousands attend, soldiers, generals, politicians, veterans, press, everyone who knew him, everyone who served with him. Marcus Kane's casket, flag draped, honor guard motionless, a hero's farewell. David Sterling stands at the podium, 3 stars gleaming, supreme commander who won the war. The face of victory, his face is stone, expressionless, but his hands grip the podium so tightly his knuckles are white. He begins the eulogy. Professional. Perfect. General Marcus Kane served his country with distinction and valor for over 30 years. He was a brilliant tactician, an aggressive commander, a soldier who led from the front and never asked a man to do something he wouldn't do himself. He commanded Third Army through one of the most remarkable campaigns in military history, 600 miles in 30 days, over 100,000 enemy prisoners captured, 437 towns liberated. His August 1944 advance will be studied in military academies for generations as an example of mobile warfare executed to perfection. General Kane understood something fundamental about modern combat, that speed saves lives. That hesitation costs more than aggression. That momentum once gained must be maintained. He was a credit to his uniform, to his nation, and to the values we fought to defend. His loss is immeasurable, his legacy eternal. The speech continues. 5 more minutes, all the right things, and none of it true. None of it what Sterling actually feels. He finishes, steps back. The ceremony continues. 21-gun salute, taps played by a single bugler. The flag folded with military precision and presented to Sarah Kane, now officially orphaned. The crowd disperses slowly, paying respects, sharing stories. Sterling walks to his car. His aide, Captain Hughes, walks beside him. Sir, that was a beautiful eulogy. Sterling stops walking, turns, looks at the young officer. Raymond, his voice is barely audible. 35 years. 35 years I knew Marcus Kane. We went to West Point together. Fought in one war together, commanded in another together. He was my best friend. Yes, sir. And I never told him. Sterling's voice cracks. I never told him what he meant to me. That he was the better commander. That I was jealous of his genius. That stopping him in August was about my pride more than military necessity. That he saved thousands of lives with his speed. His voice breaks completely. I thought we had time. We'd get old together, retire together, sit on porches and tell war stories. Time to say everything I needed to say. Hughes doesn't respond. But there wasn't time. There never is. Sterling looks back at the grave, at the fresh earth. And now he's dead, and he died never knowing the truth. He gets in the car, the door closes, and David Sterling, the man who commanded millions, who defeated Nazi Germany, who shaped history, sits in the back seat and cries. For his friend, for his own failures, for all the words left unspoken, for the jealousy that cost 140,000 lives, for the pride that stopped the best commander America ever produced. The car drives away. The cemetery grows quiet. Marcus Kane rests under Virginia soil, and the truth remains buried with him. Spring 1946, Arlington National Cemetery. Sarah Kane stands at her father's grave. 4 months since the funeral, she comes here every week, sometimes twice a week. She's 22 now, teaching high school history in Boston, building a life, but she can't let go. In her hands a box, her father's personal effects. Returned from Germany, she's been avoiding opening it. But today, finally she does. Inside his medals, his diary, letters from soldiers, and her letter. The one she wrote in 1943, the one that said her mother would be ashamed. The paper is worn, creased, like it's been folded and unfolded 1,000 times, like he carried it everywhere. Sarah opens the diary, reads his entries from August 19 the exhilaration of the advance, the frustration when fuel ran out, the discovery of the concentration camp, and one entry that stops her cold. August 26, 1944, Sterling denied fuel today. Third Army halts 60 miles from Germany. I understand his position. Political necessity, alliance management, coalition unity. But I also understand what this decision costs. 8 months of additional war, thousands of additional casualties. Innocent people dying in camps we won't reach for months. I'm angry, furious, at David, at the system, at the constraints that prevent us from ending this war when we have the chance. But I also know something Sarah taught me with her letter. That rage without control destroys everything. That emotion without discipline is just noise. I was right to move fast, right to push hard, right to believe that speed saves lives. But I was wrong in Sicily, wrong to let my anger control me, wrong to hurt someone who needed help. The challenge is finding the balance. Aggressive action without reckless emotion. Speed with purpose. Courage with compassion. I don't know if I've found that balance, but I keep trying for Margaret, for Sarah, for all the soldiers who trust me to lead them well. That's all any of us can do. Keep trying. Sarah reads it 3 times, then sits on the grass beside the grave. I understand now, Dad, she says quietly. You weren't just trying to win the war. You were trying to save people. All the people. By moving so fast the enemy couldn't kill them. She looks at her letter, at the accusation that her mother would be ashamed. I was wrong, she says. Mom wouldn't have been ashamed. She would have understood. You learned from her death, from your mistake. You turned grief into purpose, guilt into drive. You saved thousands of lives because you refused to be slow. A breeze rustles through the cemetery. Arlington is beautiful in spring. Cherry blossoms, green grass, peace. But Dad, Sarah's voice catches, you also needed to save yourself, to forgive yourself, to realize that you couldn't save everyone, that some things are beyond our control. She stands, folds the letter carefully, puts it back in the box with his medals and diary. I forgive you, she says, for Sicily, for being gone all the time, for choosing duty over family. I forgive you, and I hope you forgive yourself. She walks away, carrying the box, carrying her father's legacy. Behind her, the grave is silent, but somehow Sarah thinks maybe he hears. West Point Military Academy, September 1982. The lecture hall is packed. 200 cadets, young men and women who will be America's next generation of military leaders. At the front, Colonel Thomas Brennan Jr., son of Kane's quartermaster, now teaching military history. On the screen, a map of France. August 1944. Arrows showing Third Army's advance. Rennes to the Seine. 100 miles in 4 days. Today we're studying what's called the Kane Offensive, Brennan says. The fastest sustained military advance in modern warfare. General Marcus Kane's Third Army covered 600 miles in 30 days. An achievement that has never been replicated. He clicks to the next slide. Statistics, casualties, objectives achieved. The question we need to ask ourselves, was Kane a genius or a madman? Hands shoot up, a young woman in the front row. Sir, he disobeyed orders. He abandoned his assigned mission to secure Brittany. That's insubordination. True, Brennan nods. Anyone want to defend Kane's decision? A young man in the back. Sir, he was winning. When you're winning, you keep pushing. You don't stop for bureaucracy. So orders don't matter. Orders matter, but so does judgment. So does recognizing when you have an opportunity that won't come again. Brennan walks to the map, points at the Seine River. Here's where it gets interesting. Kane crossed the Seine in August, 4 weeks before any other Allied unit. The Germans had almost no defenses. He was 60 miles from Germany, 3 days away from crossing the border. He pauses. And then he was ordered at a halt. Fuel was diverted to Operation Market Garden, a British-led operation that ultimately failed. Kane sat stationary for 6 weeks while the Germans rebuilt their defenses. The room goes quiet. The war that could have ended in August 1944 didn't end until May 1945. 8 additional months, 140,000 additional Allied casualties, countless concentration camp victims who died waiting for liberation. A cadet raises her hand. Sir, are you saying stopping Kane was wrong? I'm saying it's complicated. General Sterling faced political realities. Alliance management. He couldn't give everything to one American general at the expense of British operations. Militarily, Kane was right. Politically, Sterling made the only decision he could. But people died because of it. Yes, people died. Brennan looks at the class. And that's the lesson I want you to take from this. Leadership isn't just about tactics. It's about understanding that every decision has consequences. That sometimes being right militarily isn't enough. That politics and warfare are inseparable. Another hand. Sir, what should Sterling have done? I don't know, Brennan says honestly. And that's the point. Sterling chose alliance unity over military efficiency. Kane chose speed over caution. Both men were right. Both men were wrong, and 140,000 people died in the gap between their decisions. He clicks to a new slide. A quote from Kane's diary. The challenge is finding the balance. Aggressive action without reckless emotion. Speed with purpose. Courage with compassion. Kane wrote this in August 1944, Brennan says, after he was ordered to halt, after a year of disgrace following Sicily. He understood something crucial, that being aggressive doesn't mean being reckless. That moving fast doesn't mean moving without thought. That courage requires discipline. He turns to face the class. You're going to be leaders. Some of you will command soldiers in combat. All of you will make decisions that affect people's lives. And the question Kane and Sterling force us to ask is this: how do you balance speed with caution? How do you balance political necessity with military effectiveness? How do you balance the lives you might save with the lives you might lose? Silence in the lecture hall. There's no perfect answer. Brennan continues. Kane moved so fast he saved thousands of lives in August. But he also got stopped and couldn't save the lives that came after. Sterling maintained alliance unity, but couldn't prevent Market Garden's failure. Both men did their best. Both men lived with regret. He clicks to the final slide. A photo of Kane and Sterling at West Point, 1910. Two 18-year-olds, smiling, friends before the wars, before the decisions, before everything. What we learn from them, Brennan says, is that leadership is about making difficult choices with incomplete information. It's about balancing competing goods. It's about living with the consequences of your decisions, both the intended and unintended. He pauses. And it's about understanding that sometimes the greatest tragedy isn't being wrong, it's being right at the wrong time. Kane was right. He could have ended the war in 19, but the system, the politics, the reality of coalition warfare, all of it prevented him from proving it. A cadet asks quietly, Sir, do you think Sterling regretted stopping Kane? Brennan thinks about the diary entry Captain Hughes revealed after Sterling's death in 1963. The confession of jealousy. The admission that politics and pride overruled military judgment. Yes, he says simply, Sterling regretted it every day for the rest of his life. Present day. In a small museum at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, there's an exhibit dedicated to Marcus Kane. His uniform, his medals, his diary, maps of the August 1944 advance, photographs of Third Army crossing the Seine, and in a glass case a worn piece of paper. Sarah Kane's letter from 1943. The placard reads, General Marcus Kane carried this letter from his daughter for 2 years. It criticized him for losing control and striking a soldier in Sicily, a moment that nearly ended his career. Kane kept it over his heart as a reminder that emotion without discipline destroys, that rage without purpose hurts the innocent. But Kane also learned another lesson, that hesitation costs lives, that speed saves soldiers, that moving fast with purpose can end wars and prevent suffering. The challenge he faced, and that we all face, is finding the balance, acting decisively without acting recklessly, moving fast without moving carelessly, having the courage to seize opportunities while maintaining the discipline to do so responsibly. Kane's August 1944 offensive proved that aggressive, decisive action can achieve the impossible. But his ultimate failure to reach Germany that year also proved that even the best commanders are constrained by politics, logistics, and the realities of coalition warfare. The question for every leader, military or civilian: when do you push forward despite obstacles? When do you halt and consolidate? How do you know the difference? Kane chose to push. He was proven right, but he was also stopped. And the cost of that stoppage, 140,000 casualties, 8 months of additional war, countless innocent lives in concentration camps, stands as testimony to what can be lost when opportunity meets bureaucracy. We study Kane not because he was perfect, but because he shows us the price of both action and inaction, the cost of moving too fast and too slow, the tragedy of being right when the world won't let you prove it. Visitors walk through the exhibit, read the diary entries, study the maps, think about the lessons. Some see a hero, some see a cautionary tale, some see both. But everyone leaves understanding something fundamental, that history is shaped not by clear victories or obvious defeats, but by the narrow spaces between them, by the opportunities seized and missed, by the decisions made in fog and uncertainty, by leaders trying their best with information that's never complete. Marcus Kane moved faster than anyone thought possible. He proved that aggressive action saves lives, but he was stopped. And in that stopping, thousands died who might have lived. Was Sterling wrong to stop him? Was Kane wrong to push so hard? Were the politicians wrong to prioritize alliance unity? The answer, like most answers in war and life, is yes and no. Both and neither. Right and wrong at the same time. And that perhaps is the real lesson. That leadership is not about finding the perfect answer. It's about making the best decision you can with imperfect information. And then living with the consequences, both the lives you save and the lives you can't. Marcus Kane saved thousands with his speed, but he couldn't save all of them. And in the end, neither could anyone else. That's not a failure. That's just the tragic reality of war, and life, and time. We never have as much time as we think. So we move as fast as we can, as carefully as we should, with as much courage and compassion as we can muster. And we hope it's enough. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it isn't. But we try anyway, because the alternative, hesitation paralysis, fear of failure, that costs even more. Kane understood that. Sterling understood that too late. And now we understand it, standing in a museum reading their story, trying to learn from their triumphs and their tragedies. So that maybe, just maybe, we can do better. Move faster when speed matters. Move carefully when caution matters, and have the wisdom to know the difference. That's the lesson of Marcus Kane. That's what we owe to the 140,000 who died waiting. That's what we owe to every soldier, every leader, every person trying to make decisions in an imperfect world. Do the best you can with the time you have, knowing it's never enough, but trying anyway. Because in the end, that's all any of us can do. Try and hope it's enough.